Welcome to the ParentLife Podcast, a podcast addressing critical topics for parents trying to raise their children to be Christian. I'm Jason Stanland, middle school pastor here at Fruit Cove Baptist Church. This week we're going to be talking about intentional grandparenting. I'm really excited about this episode. This week we have Rick and Ginna Ashby. They're members here at the church. Rick leads our men's ministry and has served in the preschool ministry. Ginna used to be our preschool ministry director. She just recently retired. And so we miss her in the office and in the ministry, but what I really love is their stories of how they tell me about how they do grandparenting, but with purpose for their own family. And so thank you so much for being here this week.
Thank you for having us.
We love to talk about our grandchildren.
Oh, yeah. I think every
if
grandparent
you want pictures,
does.
we'll be glad to share those also.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a podcast. So we're talking about intentional grandparenting. So tell us a little bit what you think it means to be an intentional grandparent.
Well, one of my favorite verses is in 3 John that says, I have no greater joy than to know my children are walking in the truth. And I include my grandchildren in that. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of our central verse as we come alongside our own adult kids and help disciple our grandchildren. They are the next generation of Christians, and we want to pass that legacy on. The only thing you really leave behind is a legacy of faith.
That's true.
And so
That's very true.
we want our grandchildren to be part of that.
Okay.
And what we also like reaching out to our grandchildren and to our children, but especially to our grandchildren. Mm-hmm. You know, we can help shape their culture, and we can help shape their by giving. We can also help shape their thinking too. So
yeah. Now there's a bit of a separation because it is your children and their children. And no one likes it when the in-laws show up and start telling you how you should raise your kids. So
our kids love it.
I'm sure.
Not.
So
we don't do that.
Can you explain for us kind of how you approach that topic and what are some things that you do for that?
Well, really one of the things that I've learned being a mentor mom and mom to mom, I listen to the moms who talk about their mothers and their mother-in-laws, and the biggest thing they say is, don't give your opinion unless it's asked. Yeah. So I zip it up, and if my daughter-in-laws or my son-in-law, if they ask something, then I will certainly share, but I do not share unless I'm asked. And that really helps the relationship.
Well, one of the things that Jen has done really well at our house too is she's created a real inviting and a real loving atmosphere. Mm-hmm. We've changed our loft upstairs into the grandparents' room.
Yeah. Not grandparents,
I'm sorry, grandchildren's room.
Yeah, it's a toy room, and they have a.
So it's the toy room for Rick. Okay,
that's right.
No, it's the toy room for the grandchildren.
Well, but we're up there too. But they really enjoy that, and it really has them urging their parents to take them to Papa Gin's house.
It's really important to create an atmosphere that is not just inviting for your grandkids, but where they want to be there, spending quality time with you. So that's really important.
Well, they come in and say, we want to go to the toy room. So boom, it's upstairs, they're ready to go. I want them to feel comfortable in our house.
Yeah, my mom's done the same, and it always is such a mess in there after we leave. I'm like, sorry.
Wait, you don't clean it up before you leave? Come on.
We're supposed to, but we don't always. All right, so as far as being intentional grandparents, how did you start the process? I mean, obviously, we kind of got the idea of when you started, whenever the first grandkid came along. But what are some things that you have done, some ideas that you would like to give to grandparents? And start with kind of easier, and let's move to more complex, if that's a good pattern.
Well, I think one of the easiest things, but probably one of the most important things, is to pray for and with your grandchildren. And so I pray for my grandchildren every day, and the number one thing I pray for is that they will accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior. I did this with my kids, but I've started with the grandkids. I've already praying for their future spouses, that would be a very wise decision they would make, and they would seek out someone who loves the Lord and is a believer. So that's a huge thing, and something that is just, to me, crucial. That's a great starting point. Another thing that I did with my kids and with my grandkids called spiritual teachable moments. Deuteronomy talks about when you walk along the road and when you sit down at the house. And so I used moments that we can tie in spiritual truths. Nature is probably one of my favorites. you know I'm a gardener.
Gardening,
So I'll take the grandchildren out and we'll talk about what God made. Or if they say, oh, I see a squirrel, Jen, well, who made the squirrel? God made the squirrel. Who made you? God made you. So we start that very, very early, looking for the opportunity to tell the truths about God and Jesus. This weekend we were in Orlando. 4 of our grandchildren in Orlando. 1 is here. And I was holding 5-month-old Ryan. It was raining outside.
Yeah.
So we went to the window, and I won't sing because it will
Thank you.
take the podcast, and then people will, tune off. But preschoolers don't know you can't sing off. You sing off key,
right.
so it's okay with them. But I sang a little song about pitter patter, down comes the rain. Pitter patter, God makes the rain.
Yeah.
And what we know about babies is their receptive language is huge. They can't speak it back, but they can internalize it and hear it. Well, little did I know that his 5-year-old sister was in the room, but I didn't think she was paying attention. And when I started singing, she started singing with me.
Right.
And so,
because you had already been singing that song
to her, and so she knew that song. And that singing, particularly with preschool grandchildren, is a great way to teach spiritual truths. We know from research that what we sing stays with us a lot longer than what we say. So simple things, I take Bible verses and I put them to familiar tunes like Mary Had a Little Lamb or Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. If you're not a great, like Brian Wolfter can probably have a great song out there, add to a Bible verse. I'd use familiar tunes.
That's fine.
But simple tunes, and that's easy to do, and then you're reinforcing a Bible verse at the same time. Also, reading Bible stories to the children. There are lots of great Bible story books, and reading Bible stories to them. And then what we love to do is also act out Bible stories.
Oh, yeah.
At Christmas, the grandchildren always act out the Luke 2 Bible story.
Sure.
And they have so much fun. And this year, because not everybody could be together, we Zoomed it with my parents and their great-grandparents. And so we had a great time, and the children love it. And then acting out a Bible story really helps, again, reinforce it, and it sticks with them. Now, Papa Rick is my technology expert.
Yes.
So with COVID, and then when you have grandchildren out of town, he's going to address some of the things we've done with technology.
I love what you guys did, so I'm glad you're going to share.
A couple of things about that as well. One of the things that we also do with we want to invest in our children's marriage as well. So every Christmas, we give them a 2-night stay at a bed and breakfast. And that includes grandkids. We'll keep the grandkids or their children while they go. They kind of stretch it out a couple of times, so maybe 3 and 4 nights. We've kind of limited it to.
My parents are watching this. I'm really glad right now. Keep going.
But we did. But that's, we want to invest in the marriage that way. And the other thing we've done, we've learned during the pandemic, there's a lot of hurdles that parents who are working at home have to overcome. So one of the things we try to do using technology is we would schedule Zoom sessions with our grands. We'd schedule. We would use our iPads, we would do whiteboarding, we would draw, we would sing, some of us off key, but we
both of us off key.
and they would look forward to that. And if we were going to be coming late, our son would reach out to me, are you still going to do it today? Kate's asking about it, or the twins are asking about it.
It's so important that your grandkids are asking about
Well, they really
look
are.
forward to it.
And the other thing that we've done there as well is we started doing Zoom Sunday School. Ginna started doing Zoom Sunday School.
As part of the pandemic.
Yes, and when even children here were not going back to church yet. Even once we opened up the worship center, but nobody was having children's Sunday school. So we had a lot of fun doing Zoom Sunday School with the grandkids.
And you were the tech operator, you were the teacher. And I remember seeing some of the scenes that you would create for the lessons and stuff, and it was Sunday School with Ginna. And I think, wow, what a great way to invest. And now since the pandemic has kind of opened back up and families are going back, how have you used that same experience now just as ongoing?
Well, you can continue to have Zoom or FaceTime, whichever medium you like to use, but you can continue to do that and be intentional about it. You might, again, a Bible verse, Bible story. You can even have them act it out on their end of the Zoom call. And so they're just, particularly with grandkids that don't live right near you, and you don't get to see them as often. So Rick has taught me a lot about technology. As you know, I'm not very technological, but
it wasn't very painful either, by the way.
Well, we don't go into that, but he's my technology person, so it works out really well. So it's really great, and we continue to have Zoom calls or FaceTime calls. Whereas before we just didn't think about it.
Right.
But the pandemic, one of the good things about the pandemic, reinforced the importance of using the tools that we've got to reach out to our grandkids.
And what I love, being an intentional grandparent is more about an attitude than it is sometimes what you do and the specifics. It's this desire that I'm going to take responsibility for the faith of my children and grandchildren, their marriages, to pray with them, to come up with creative ways to engage the kids and grandkids. And so thank you so much.
Well, we want to add one more thing that we're
Okay.
excited about. We were going to do it last year, and we
Okay.
didn't have VBS. So we are going to have cousins camp during VBS. We'll be taking our vitamins. But 4 of them, the 5-month-old we're not including, but the other 4, they are going to come and stay with us and go to VBS here, and then have a fun time in the afternoon together and spend the night. So we're excited about investing in VBS. Our kids in Orlando work, and so they're always trying to find things for them to do in the summer. But it's hard to get them to a VBS where they would have to leave work and come back and pick them up.
Right.
So for the twins, this will be their first VBS experience.
And it's a relatively somewhat easy experience because half the day the grandkids are at VBS. So
Well, we'll be at VBS too.
Well, that's true. You guys are
we'll be
serving.
teaching too. So.
yeah.
No more naps.
My
They
mom
come home in
calls
the
it
afternoon.
Nana Camp, so we get it. So, well, thank you very much for coming and sharing just your experience and what the Lord has been doing in your family. For everyone who's listening and watching right now, thank you so much for joining us today. We've got some great episodes coming in the future, and please go ahead and subscribe to our channel so that way you can get new episodes as they come out and they're posted. You can find us on Apple. You can find us on Google, Spotify, YouTube. We're kind of here and available for you. If you'd like more info on Fruit Cove Baptist Church, please go to fruitcove.com. You can find out all about us. But if you'd like to interact with us, submit questions, ask us further questions about some of the topics you've heard today, please reach out to us at ParentLife@fruitcove.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.